The sun goes down 50,000 years ago, and the world is just gone. Not dim. Gone. No streetlight, no screen, no glow on the horizon from a city that never sleeps. Black so complete you can't find your own hand in front of your face. And you've got 12 hours of it to get through. Every night. For your whole life. So what did you do with all that dark? Here's the strange part. At some point tonight, you're going to wake up in the middle of it. Wide awake. Eyes open. Heart calm. And it won't be a problem. Hold on to that. We're coming back to it. But first, the fire. Everything about the human night starts with fire, because fire is the only reason the night was survivable at all. We've been keeping flames for hundreds of thousands of years, and by the time you're sitting in this camp, fire isn't really a tool anymore. It's a room. A circle of orange light shoved out against the black, warm enough to sleep beside, bright enough to see the faces across from you. And that little circle of light did something nobody planned. It handed humans a second life. A whole extra stretch of the day that no animal had ever had. Sunsets. Work stops. The talking starts. But the talking at night isn't the same talking you did all day. We actually know this, which still amazes me. In 2014, an anthropologist named Polly Wiessner recorded hundreds of conversations among the Juhuansi, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to the old way. Then she sorted them by the clock. And the split was almost too clean to believe. In daylight, the talk was practical. Who owns what? Who took more than their share? Where the good roots are. The dull machinery of staying alive. At night around the fire, more than 8 out of 10 conversations became stories. Not gossip. Stories. How the world began. Ancestors who did impossible things. The dead. The far away. The kind of thing you can only afford to think about when your stomach is full and there's a wall of flame between you and the teeth. Wiessner's takeaway was quietly huge. The day held the group together. The night is where the culture got made. And the religion, imagination, the shared story that lets total strangers trust each other. Most of it probably got born right there. In the firelight. In the hours after dark, when there was finally nothing left to do but wonder. So the first thing that ancient humans did all night was invent meaning. Then, eventually, they slept. But not the way you sleep. You've been told your whole life that a healthy night is 8 hours straight. Down, out, up once, done. Anything else is a disorder with a name and a prescription. That's almost certainly wrong. A historian named Roger Kirch spent more than 20 years buried in the old diaries, court records, medical books, novels. And he kept tripping over the same 2 phrases, dropped in casually, like everybody already knew what they meant. First sleep. Second sleep. Here's how the night actually ran for most of the human history. You go down not long after dark. You sleep maybe 4 hours. Then you wake up on your own, deep in the middle of the night. And you stay up, calm and clear-headed for an hour or 2. Then you drop back down into second sleep until dawn. Nobody treated that waking hour as broken. They used it. They prayed. They murmured to whoever was lying next to them. They had sex. They turned over the dreams they had just had while the dreams were still warm. Somebody got up to feed the fire and look at the dark. And in the 1990s, a researcher named Thomas Vare showed it's still sitting inside us. He put modern people in 14 hours of darkness and night, like a winter before electricity. Within a few weeks, their sleep cracked neatly in 2, with a quiet, almost floating gap in the middle. Their bodies remembered a night the rest of us forgot. So if you've ever snapped awake at 2 in the morning, laying there weirdly alert and not even anxious, and wondered what's wrong with you, maybe nothing is. You might just be keeping an appointment that's tens of thousands of years old. Which brings us to the danger. Because the ancient night wasn't all warm fire and soft thinking. The dark belongs to the predators. Lions do most of their killing at night. So do leopards, so do hyenas, so does anything soft-footed that can see when you can't. Out past the firelight, the night was full of eyes. And your species, slow, weak, mostly blind after sunset, was food. So how did they get through it? Somebody was always awake. In 2017, a scientist named David Sampson wired up the sleep of the Hadza in Tanzania. 33 adults watched around the clock for the weeks. He was hunting for the moment the whole camp was under at the same time. Everyone out, the group wide open. He basically never found it. Across all those nights, there were only about 18 minutes total when every single person was asleep at once. And the reason is almost funny in how simple it is. People go to bed and wake up at different times, and that spread gets wider the older you get. The young ones stay up. The old ones, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, surface in the small hours and can't get back down. We've spent decades filing that away as the sad little side effect of aging. Samson thinks it's the opposite. It's a shift. An elder awake at 3 a.m., poking the coals, watching the tree line, is a guard that evolution built out of insomnia. The camp is never really all the way asleep because it was never meant to be. Your grandmother's bad nights might be a reason your bloodline made it past the lions. And when they weren't watching the dark, they were watching the sky. You've never really seen the stars. Not like they did. No electric light for 1,000 miles in any direction, and the night sky stops being a sprinkle of dots. It's a wall. The Milky Way dumped straight across it, bright enough to throw a faint shadow on the ground. They knew it cold. The stars told them the season, told them which way was home, told them when the rains were coming. And they pinned their stories up there, so the sky doubled as the tribe's memory. When you look up and pick out a hunter, a bear, a cluster of 7 sisters, you're reading something a person first said out loud around a fire before anyone could write. That sky was the first thing our species ever kept its history in, so add up the ancient night. They turned fire into a room. They turned the dark into stories, and the stories into gods. They slept in 2 halves and used the seam in the middle to think. They took turns holding off the lions without ever once calling it a shift. And they read a sky you're never going to get to see. Then a little over 100 years ago, we hit a switch and wiped all of it out. Electric light didn't just brighten the night, it canceled it. It crushed the 2 sleeps into one hard block and slapped the word insomnia on the hour that got left over. It smeared the stars into orange haze. It packed the quiet with screens. So the mind that used to drift toward something enormous now just thumbs toward nothing. We beat the dark so completely we forgot it was ever ours to begin with. Your body didn't forget, though. So tonight, when you come awake at 2 in the morning and you're just lying there in the black, alert for no reason at all, don't grab your phone. Don't call it insomnia. That's not a glitch. That's the watch. Somewhere down in you, an ancestor is sitting up by a fire that went cold 50,000 years ago, keeping an eye on the dark, exactly like they were supposed to. You're just missing the fire, and the stories, and that sky.